Yo, JD here, Tillis, and as you can see here today, this is going to be my first episode of my new wet series that I'm going to be doing, so this wet driving school. And here today we're at Melbourne, and for this first lap, this is me not using a setup at all, so there's completely no setup on my car, completely default 6.6 wings, everything from the middle at the moment. And this is just to show you the difference between not having a setup and using one. This is me using no assist as usual as well, so just taking note of the throttle bar and the braking. You can see we're actually trail braking. In the dry in this game, I do tend to go on the brakes about 100% most of the time, then ease off slightly. But in this, I very rarely use 100% brakes on this in the wet, and you'll be able to see this. And as regarding the lines for this, you won't be braking about 20-30 meters earlier than what you would be doing in the dry. And for me, I thought it was really important to actually attack the corners on the entry. I know it may sound a little bit weird to actually say that, but actually attacking the corners, really trying to hit an early apex for most corners is what really helps me. And going full throttle, you really don't want to be going full throttle until you go into about 4th or 5th gear on most corners, and you want to be using quite a high gear. Second gear, you will use at times, but quite a lot you really want to try and stay in the high gears as much as possible, because that really will eliminate quite a lot of wheel spin. So we'll see what we do actually go into this corner, because we're going to hit 100% on the brakes, and you can see we come off the brakes fairly slowly on, I think on turn 3. That's probably the best example of trail braking. And this lap here is a pretty good lap. I think number 1 time was like a 40.4 or something, and everyone was using assists like in the top 20. And I said it in my previous video, assists are quicker in the dry by about 3 to 5 tenths, and in the wet they're about up to a second quicker you can possibly be in the wet. So this time here we did a 40.8, if I can read it on my screen correctly, and we'll go back to the garage now just to see what the leaderboard times actually were. We'll be able to see where we actually were. I think we're about 2nd or 3rd with no assists, with no setup, which you'll be able to see on the screen now. So next up I'm doing, you'll be able to see that setup I will be using for the wet. And please know, if you're in a league race situation or online, unless you know the race is 100% full wet, then you probably would be using more of a dry setup, because if the track actually dries out and you'll be using this setup, it's probably not going to be that great. So we can see we're 3rd place, no assist, no setup as well. So that was a pretty good time, and you can see everyone else here is actually at least using traction control, which is very helpful in the wet. So we'll be able to see the setup I'm using. So we're going to be using 11.9 wings. Everything else is fairly similar. I'm actually going to change the alignment back to the middle, and the reason why I've done that is because I actually want it to be really balanced, because straight line speed is still actually quite important in the wet. You can actually still gain quite a lot of time, and since we're using high wings as well, that's definitely something you want to be using. So we can see here now, this is actually a lap, or my best lap I did with the setup. So you can see coming across the start finish line, we'll be going up into 7th gear, and with the dry about 20-30 meters earlier, so just before that bollard there, take a really early apex, short shifting up through the gears. You can see in the throttle, very cautious. Once we get into 5th gear, that's when we'll be 100% on throttle, and coming into this corner, this is probably the best example of trail braking. It's 100% and then coming off gradually in little stages, just coming off. And that's just a technique that you're just going to learn yourself when you're actually racing, because it's very difficult to just watch this video and just see, oh well, you can just replicate that. That's something you're going to have to put laps in and actually do. You can see very early apex into this corner, trying to really attack the corners, try not to go on the exit curbs too much as with the dry, but especially in the wet, you do not want to be accelerating in the wet on the curb, definitely not. So try and take a really early apex once again, try and avoid this curb. So just notice we're not really going out that much. Once we get into 4th gear, that's when we're going full throttle. And for this next corner, early apex again, and really just try and go slow in, fast out for this corner. So you can see 4th gear, really try and stay to the left, and then really try and cut back in and get in full throttle as much as possible. And for this series, I'm going to be going through every single track. So basically this is what I do with my hot laps at the moment, to going every single track, time trialing, just showing you what I can do. And then I'll probably do some separate videos of just really just talking about what lines you should be taking and how to actually approach corners in the wet, maybe specific corners. So this is a series I'm really hoping to keep up for quite a while. So if you did like this, then please leave a like on the video. And we're coming across the line, coming out the last corner now. So again, trying to keep the car as straight as possible, so being smooth, and not really going on the power until your steering wheel is actually straight. That's probably the biggest tip I would say. And short shifting at times can definitely help, but you won't be short shifting in the higher gears, but in the lower gears, it's actually okay to rev the gears out in that third gear, fourth gear. It's actually okay to do that because it really will help you not lose the car, because sometimes if you short shift too early, it will actually make it a lot more difficult for the car to actually control. So we'll go run through the setup again. So 11.9 wings, as you saw when we actually did it, when we actually went out before going onto the track. So that is my first episode in the series today. So this is around Melbourne, and I'll be following a similar series that I did with my hot lap. So every other day I'll probably be doing another track with this as well. So if you did enjoy it, please subscribe for more F1 2016 videos. My next video will probably be going into detail about the car setups, because I'm going into every component, really trying to go into as much detail as I can, because obviously I've been playing the game a lot more now. I know more things than I did before previously, so I'll really be able to go into what I feel really works for me, and what works for career mode and what other cars, and online, and saving tyres as well. So hopefully that should be out tomorrow. So thank you so much for the support recently. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.